So there's a suspicious secret trend that's happening with the billionaire class, ladies and gentlemen. We know that society is in shambles and continues to be. We know that the oligarchs that are in control of a lot of aspects in our livelihoods, they're constantly, perpetuating, social division. They're trying to erode society. They're trying to capture, they're getting BlackRock to buy up utilities. They're trying to privatize everything. They're trying to basically scam the nations of the world and, liquidate all the assets, all the values of nations so they can steal it from themselves. And when the world does go into, a kind of Mad Max style apocalyptic scenario, if that ever comes to be the case, what are the billionaires doing? What are the billionaires secretly doing? And do they know that something is up? So this is a conversation that I know sounds like a bit of a conspiracy and something that, probably Alex Jones mentioned about, 10, 20 years ago. But it's becoming more and more relevant because of new information that's coming out about this. So, for example, Jason Basler, he tweeted this out saying, Zuckerberg, Thiel, and Altman and Hoffman, the architects of the digital age, are buying apocalypse insurance, building bunkers, underground fortresses with blast doors, private farmland, and off-grid systems. They are preparing the collapse. What do they know that we don't? So these are the smarty pants tech bros that are arguably running the show right now. This is kind of the new world order. This is the new world order 2.0. It was originally the WEF and the Bankers Association, which currently occupy the remainder of the world. But now, especially in the United States, it's really gone to the hands of the tech billionaires. And they're preparing for something. They're definitely preparing for something. But what is it? Why are they doing this? And why are we not allowed to know why they're prepping and having these underground bunkers in this age that we're supposed to live in a utopian society? That's what Zuckerberg, Thiel, Altman, Hoffman, that's what so many people talked about, how, the AI revolution was going to make things more prosperous. But so why are they prepping these underground cities? It doesn't make sense. But it does make sense in the fact that other people have openly admitted to this. So here, I don't know if people are aware of who this woman is. This is Catherine Austin Fitz, and she's been featured multiple times on different channels and different platforms. This is a former George H.W. Bush official. So going back to late 80s into the 90s, the president who coined the phrase New World Order on television. That was him announcing that to the general public. This is one of the people responsible, Assistant Secretary to HUD, which I think is the development agency. I may be wrong on that. Someone checked on that. Assistant Secretary of HUD, Catherine Austin Fitz, reveals to Tucker Carlson that $21 trillion was funneled into a secret underground city where the rich and powerful can hide and ride out a near extinction event. So here is a former H.W. Bush official admitting to Tucker Carlson that taxpayer money, they printed out and took taxpayer money to funnel into this development of underground cities for the rich and powerful, preparing for some apocalyptic event that's going to affect everybody else. So what does government officials, what do tech billionaires, what do all these other people know secretly about that we're not allowed to know about it, and we're not allowed to prep for ourselves of this? Here's what she says.
One of the things that I've looked at, because I'm trying to figure out, between fiscal 1998 and fiscal 2015, there were 21 trillion of undocumentable adjustments in the U.S. government. If you go to our website, missingmoney.solera.com, we have years and years of documentation, including the government financials that show this. And so the question is, where's all this money going? And one of the things I've looked at in the process of looking at where all this money is going is the underground base and city infrastructure and transportation system that's been built. We have
So she's talking about all the missing trillions of dollars that from the Pentagon. Remember all the reports that people were curious about where was this money going towards? We lost $21 trillion in the Pentagon, but yet we're still giving them money. They failed every audit. We're still giving them money. They lost $21 trillion and we don't know where it went to. Well, she's saying, because she was an insider at the time and doing investigative work, she was uncovering that $21 trillion could have allocated the building of these underground fortresses for the rich and powerful. And this is, again, it sounds like a conspiracy. It sounds like something Alex Jones concocted, 20 years ago that people thought was so crazy, so sinister. But now, as we're going back to this, it's very plausible. And it's very plausible, especially at this point, knowing the direction of where society is heading, knowing that, a lot of the programs are socially engineered by the billionaire class, that they're purposely causing the erosion of countries, that they're liquidating assets, that they're crumbling the economy, that they're willing to kill off people. That's not a hyperbole. That's legit what's happening. Once this AI revolution finally kicks in for good, you become useless eaters and they have nothing to do with you. And you can either adapt to this new society or you can go perish off. And that was what they were trying to do. So it's not shocking at this point. It's not shocking. And if you look at other stories, you look at conspiracies, back in the day, they talk about, Denver Airport being one of them, that they have underground bunkers. There's underground bunkers at golf courses to house Congress when there's a nuclear attack happening. And considering the fact that a lot of these policies are heading into directions of, possible nuclear warfare and famine and all this other stuff that you would think we're trying to avoid. Like, you're trying to avoid nuclear aggression. You're trying to avoid this conflict because you know how damaging it is. And you see a lot of these people, a lot of the billionaire class, trying to tiptoe closer and closer and closer than ever to reach the goal of nuclear annihilation. Why would they do that? Why would they do that? Oh, that's because they're building these underground bunkers so they live on and the rest of you suffer. Because they ultimately don't give a damn about you. None of them give a damn about you whatsoever. It's psychotic. It's psychotic, and I know it takes a lot out of people to really sink this in. That's why a lot of people don't want to believe it, but it's happening. And here's a insider who's revealing this to Tucker Carlson.
Built an extraordinary number of underground bases and supposedly transportation systems. Some of these are some of these are documented as part of the national security infrastructure. I think there are many more. So,
in the United States?
In the United States, on all over the world.
And what would be the purpose?
The purpose, if you thought you were going to get a near extinction event, so to me, there are two purposes. You have so many activities going on that you need to keep secret, that you're basically building the capacity to, for example, if you're doing a secret space program, you need to platform it from things that can't be seen. But I think if you're worried about a near extinction event.
So now that leaves to the question, if they're building these underground bunkers, does the billionaire class predict or even planning on a near extinction event? Like, why are they doing this? Why are they spending, taxpayer subsidies? Because a lot of this is coming from government subsidies that are paying the tech billionaire bros to, facilitate these underground bunkers. So what did they know? What did they know that we don't know? What kind of secret knowledge do they have that we're not allowed to know about this? It's very, very interesting to know about this. And considering the direction of where countries are heading towards, it really makes you scratch your head and really think about this. It really gives you that kind of philosophical moment to think that what kind of information are the billionaires telling themselves and telling each other that we, the peasants, aren't allowed to know? That, could there be a possible doomsday afoot? Are they prepping and planning for eradicating the rest of the planet for their own selfish desires? Like, what's going to happen? These are all the questions that should be of concern. So here's an article to even back this. This is from Interesting Engineering. And they wrote a piece on this saying billionaires are buying islands and building secret bunkers. But why? What is the ultra rich what is it the ultra rich are so afraid of that many of them are building $1 million bunkers on islands? That's what we want to know. And they go on to say, let me make this a bit bigger for people. It says numerous billionaires, including Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg, Oprah Winfrey, and Richard Branson and Larry Page have bought large chunks of land on islands. What's even more surprising is that many such properties have underground tunnels leading to bunker-like structures. For instance, Zuckerberg is building a $100 million bunker beneath his under-construction Kalae Ranch property on the Hawaiian island of Kauai. Is that how you say it? Kauai? I don't know. I'm hoping that's right. In an interview, LinkedIn co-founder Reid Hoffman also revealed that nearly half of his billionaire friends from Silicon Valley either have some secrets hide away or are working on one. But why are the ultra-rich buying islands and building bunkers? Don't they already live in some of the world's most posh and protected homes? Some conspiracy theorists suggest that there is something these billionaires know, something bad that is likely to happen in 2024, and this is why they are building secret bunkers. By something, what most of these theorists mean is some sort of an apocalyptic event. While that may sound intriguing to many people, but is that may not be entirely true. For instance, Mark Zuckerberg's ranch reportedly has a large underground space that's not just one part of the $400 million under construction building. The ranch also has farms, cattle feeding areas, breweries, and many other things that make it a private, self-sustainable ecosystem. That's what they mean when they talk about like underground cities. That they could grow their own food, they can have their own brewery, they can have entertainment and leisure activities in these underground facilities, and it's going to house the billionaires and Silicon friends of theirs. So what is going on? Why are they prepping for this? Do they know something that we don't know? And why are we not allowed to know about it? It just seems very, very suspicious. Many expensive properties on the Hawaiian Islands that are owned by other wealthy people also follow a similar concept. Besides underground shelters, these ranches are also capable of producing organic food. Plus, they also have their own forests, bars, water reservoirs, and breweries. If Zuckerberg knew something about an upcoming disaster, wouldn't he have just spent the money on building the bunker? Why is he spending the additional hundreds of millions on farms and cattle? Moreover, Elon Musk, Britney Spears, Larry Page, Oprah Winfrey, and Larry Ellison also own properties in Hawaii, and many of them still don't have bunkers. Of course, Musk might have a secret rocket that will take him to Mars, but what about the other billionaires? It looks like the ultra-rich build and own ultra-rich build and own high-tech underground shelters, not because of some rumored end-of-the-world situation, but simply because they can afford to do so. They build and own such facilities possibly to keep their families safe and continue their operations during a natural disaster or a war-like situation. But again, with all the information we know about these manufactured events, cloud seeding in the possibility of extensive floods, the war profiteers that are manufacturing narratives to build up the war regime situation, all this information that we know, why would they be so scared that they need to build this kind of underground society away from the general public? Like, I thought they're supposed to be trying to prove that they're one of us. That's why they wear t-shirts. That's why they go on to places like Joe Rogan. Hey, I'm one of you guys. I'm not a creep. I'm not a weirdo. I'm not some sort of megalomaniac sociopath. I'm one of you guys. I just happen to extort a lot of money from people. I have very much an influential power, which is a conflict of interest when it comes to politics. And look I'm building bunkers, secret bunkers with trillions of dollars that were given to me in government subsidies over the years. So is there something that they know that we don't know? That's the ultimate question here. Here's power to the people, saying nothing to see here except billionaires buying luxury bunkers. Why am I saying condos? To escape from the inevitable societal collapse their greed will cause. We're running out of time, so it'd be great if people could realize we are in the class war, so we need to punch up, not down or at each other. So he's kind of suggesting what I'm kind of suggesting is that this is some sort of protection from some sort of event where it's going to cause a rift between classes, not between left versus right, Democrats versus Republicans, about the billionaire oligarchs and the peasants. We don't know what it could be. It could be nuclear warfare. It could be another, pathological, viral outbreak like we saw with COVID, but even worse. Who knows what it could be? There's many different scenarios that could play out, but it seems like the billionaire class are taking advantage of this. They're trying to, sweep out the country. They're trying to liquidate all its assets. They're trying to steal as much money as possible and watch it burn to a crisp. And they don't care about it because now they have secret underground societies that are able to, house them, that's able to feed them, that's able to produce meat and organic food, which is kind of hilarious because these are the same people that tell you that you can't have beef product because it's harmful to the planet, but they're allowed to have cattle farms. They're allowed to have cattle farms. They're allowed to have real organic food, but you have to sculpt down whatever Bill Gates injects into a pear and an apple. It seems so crazy. It's very, very, very crazy and interesting at the same time. This guy, open-minded approach. So here's Mark Zuckerberg on a podcast show, and he says these cynical events are one of the reasons why billionaires are building doomsday bunkers. Some of them possesses knowledge about these cycles, while others build in reaction, simply following what their peers are doing. Many of them are only preparing for climate change, a grand solar minimum, global cooling, food shortages, and civilizational collapse, not a full-scale global catastrophic event like crystal displacement. That's why they are building bunkers on remote islands and stocking them with resources intended to sustain them for years. So they're trying to make the argument that it may not be a nuclear holocaust, it may not be warlike, it may not be, like a missile that just, desecrates against the entire country, that maybe it's just prepping for climate change, which a lot of these, billionaire philanthropists believe, either, intentionally or not. And maybe someone like Mark Zuckerberg is trying to prep himself for what he believes is some sort of catastrophic event that comes with climate change. We don't know for sure, but here's him admitting that he does have an underground bunker. So it's not crazy to believe it, because here's Mark Zuckerberg admitting to this on camera.
You have an underground tunnel.
Do you really?
Yeah. Yeah.
In
Well, I have
USA?
this ranch in Kauai. Yeah. Where there's this whole thing where people were like, there's this whole meme about how people are saying I built this like bunker underground. It's like more of underground storage
Bring
type
it up.
situation. But yeah, no, it's
Oh, wow. Zucky got that bunky. What's under the ground is just more water, right?
it's basically what you just said. It's sort of a tunnel that just goes to another building.
Yeah.
You have an underground tunnel.
Do you really?
Yeah.
So he just told Theo Vaughn that he is building underground. Now, he's trying to cover up and say that, well, it's only a tunnel that connects from one building to the other, so it's not as all suspicious. It's not like a conspiracy. But, think about, this is one of the most rich and powerful people ever to produce. Like, this is Mark Zuckerberg, the head of Facebook, the head of Meta, that has lied to you, that smeared to you, that is constantly involved in corruption and schemes, that, is what he's saying there true, that it's only a tunnel that he's building? Or could there be something else that he's purposely misleading someone like Theo Vaughn and his audience to believe that, oh, it's only just a tunnel, so it's not that, endangering or not that conspiratorial, when in reality, someone like Mark Zuckerberg, who probably has insider information that is connected to intelligence agencies, that is connected to other aspects of the world, the rich and powerful elite and the globalists that control everything, that maybe he has this information on devastation that's going to happen to people, and he's preparing himself for it because he is the egomaniac, selfish sociopath that he is. That's what a lot of these billionaires are. That's just how they're, perceived to be. That's how they built themselves this reputation. Unfortunately, no one gets $1 billion for being empathetic, but they are if they are selfish and conniving and just absolutely lying to their people and lying to themselves. Like, it's just crazy. So there's him openly admitting that he has underground tunnels in his ranch that goes to other buildings. Now, whether that is just a tunnel, whether it's just transportation, that's still up in the air, but at least that's him admitting to this. So it's no longer a conspiracy to believe these questions, to believe this, suspicion that billionaire classes are building these underground facilities, because that's a billionaire, arguably, talking about it, openly stating that he does, right to Theo Vaughn. And I want to show this again. We've shown this before, but this is kind of the direction of where things are going. This is why this kind of plays into, all the policies that are happening, everything that's going on with the world, why we kind of we're getting closer and closer than ever into a technological fuelist state. And here, for example, this is Mark Carney, our current prime minister here in Canada, and the statement says the Canadian economy is undergoing a controlled demolition. There is no other explanation. Given our vast resources and tiny population, we should be one of the wealthiest countries on the planet. No one could screw up this bad by accident. It's being done maliciously. So I've shown this before to remind people that this is the direction of where things are going. And this is probably why a lot of these billionaires have spent years developing these underground bunkers, because they are purposely and maliciously attacking, demonizing the rest of the population. They're buying into politics. They're controlling legislator. They're trying to purposely undermine and cause a societal collapse intentionally so that they can siphon out the remaining dollars of said nations, the value and currency that countries have. And while the rest of the population are in scrambles, living like the Hunger Games, these billionaire so-called philanthropists, or someone like Mark Carney, who's a centralized banker who works on the behest of the World Economic Forum and Brookfield and many other asset firms, he's able to live a prosperous life with all the resources that he hijacks from people. And that's what he's doing. He's hijacking the Canadian economy. He's hijacking the Canadian resources for himself. He's liquidating the value and assets of this country and killing off the remaining of Canada for himself. And while the country goes into a societal collapse and people start, going after and beating each other and being lied to about, who's at fault here, whether it's the left or the right, causing this division, they're living in their underground bunkers, hoping that something's going to take them out, whether it being civil war, whether it being nuclear holocaust, whether it being famine, whether it being anything. Because they don't give a damn about you. They don't give a damn about you. And they're purposely just doing this because of the fact they're hoping you die off. They're hoping that you perish off. That's kind of what was inevitable when it came to COVID. I know that seems dark and disturbing and morbid, but there's billionaires out there that definitely wanted to see more deaths come about when it came to the COVID shots. And now here we are in 2025 as we're expanding the AI revolution, and the billionaire class purposely are coming forward to say that, yeah, the AI revolution is going to take over a lot of positions, going to, remove the essence of human creativity. It's going to kill off the aspirations of a regular human being. So there's no point to you. There's no point to human existence because AI is going to do it all. And that is very alarming given the fact that we're seeing this. What's going to happen to us? What's going to happen to us? What's going to happen to society in the near future? So this is why people should be aware of this and understand that, these are people not to be trusted with, that these are people that are disgustingly despised by you, and they want to take control so they can hijack the resources, hijack the value of countries, because they don't view countries as countries. They view it as opportunities, and leave you stranded. Leave the rest of us stranded for their own selfish desires. It seems very demonic. It seems very morbid, but given where things are going and now, information coming back about building these underground bunkers, one can believe that this could possibly be why, that they're purposely wanting to do a self-demolition, a controlled demolition of countries, and they just want to hide it out and wait for the rest of society to rot out. But that's just a suspicion. We don't know for sure.